U kthyem dhe jemi në pjesën e 4 të emisionit dhe këtu ne kemi të ftuar një njeri special, një njeri ndryshe, një që ka udhëtuar gjithë botën dhe po flasim këtu me Jan nga Gjermania. Hello Jan.
Hey Julian.
How are you doing? How is life?
Oh, I'm fine. Actually, we have a bit of sunshine here in Hamburg the first time for a few days, and that's really a treat in winter.
Yeah, we were talking about the weather before, and it's really cold in Europe, but it's strange to have sun in a day that we do not expect sun, you know.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit. You say that you traveled around Australia, from what I heard, right? Jani ka udhëtuar nëpër Australi.
Yes, I'm a comic book artist, and I did a long walk through the Australian outback and to an Aboriginal community.
Ka shkruar një libër komik, shkruan libra komik edhe ka vetë
the culture of the
njerëz
people.
Aborigini që janë njerëzit e vjetër të Australisë.
Yeah. And I thought I could just, do this adventure of a desert hike and then end up in this Aboriginal community and do one book about it. But then I realized that I had to make 2 books, and because I found out that I had to do a lot of research to really understand what was going on in the Australian desert. So I really just rocked up there as a traveler, curious about what I would find, and there were so many questions that came to my mind. And yeah, I can show you a few pictures of that place so you get a bit of an impression.
What type of questions came before the pictures? What type of questions did come to your mind when you visited? Or before visiting?
Well, you see, Australia has this. Australia obviously is this this sort of Western society. So, non-Indigenous Australia is very much like Germany, a little bit, maybe a little bit more individualistic. So people are really well off. They have big houses and swimming pools and big TV screens and everything. And then you have the minority of the Aboriginal people, who are the actual owners of the continent, strictly speaking. And if you look at their situation, you find that they are marginalized and very poor, and that there's a lot of struggle for self-determinance and that there's a lot of issues in the Aboriginal communities, like health issues, really drastic unemployment rates. And part of what was driving me was to understand why that is. Where do these troubles come from? What is the reason for this massive clash? Why can't these 2 cultures come together and work as a whole?
Understood. It would be amazing if you can show us some pictures. Tani, Jani ka udhëtuar në Australi dhe thot që Australia perëndimore, ajo pjesa e qyteteve, është gati një lloj me Gjermaninë, në të vërtetë, sepse është e njëjta gjë, shtëpi kanë atje, shtëpi këtu, makina atje, makina këtu, kurse nga ana tjetër që jetojnë njerëzit indogjen të lashtë, Aborigini që quhen atje, ata kanë, domethënë, e gjithë ajo gjëja është që ata jetojnë si në kohët e vjetra, jetojnë në një mënyrë gati primitive, mund të themi, ose totalisht primitive, edhe nuk po shikojnë një mënyrë se si t'i lidhin këto të dyja kulturat bashk. Pra të lidhësh
the road sign that leads to the takeoff at Yundeman. You can see there's
next fuel service 760 kilometers.
760 kilometers.
Ka një tabel këtu që thotë që karburanti i radhës është 760 kilometra.
So if you look at the community from the next hill, looks like this is just the Tenemai Desert, which is a very arid place. And in the middle of that, you have this small community of maybe 800 people that live there.
Edhe këtu jetojnë një komunitet me 800 veta.
The town is like 300 kilometers away.
300 kilometra më larg kanë shtëpinë më të afërt.
This is what it looks like if you're down on the street, and if you walk through the streets. And there's a few things like there's a school, for example. Then we have a television, film production facilities and radio station. And there's also music studios in there. And that's a store which looks a bit weird at this moment because it's closed and fortified against kids breaking in, because they're doing a lot of break-ins. That's free to use. And the art center, and that's an important place because
edhe pas kanë dhe një radio atje. Edhe ka gjëra
This
ka.
is where I just went to work as a volunteer
Ky vajti si
and
vullnetar
found
këtu
a
tani.
place to stay.
Edhe gjeti vendi për të fjetë
This
falas.
is a view of the art center inside, so you can see there's a lot of stuff going on, lots of paints. There's
Ka disa piktura,
artwork produced, like they produce 10,000 pictures a year at this stage. So,
10,000 pictures a year.
Hundreds of artists working there. You think.
Ka pra
So
vend
my thing,
me
this is one of the houses
qindra
that I lived in.
njerëz që vjen atje për të
Because
jetuar.
I wanted to do some research to find out about the culture of the Warlpiri people, right? So this is a house where I stayed with an Aboriginal friend.
Këtu ka lënë,
His family.
ka ndëj me një shok aborigini, ata, ka ndëj
I
bashkë.
forgot the name of this little one. And it was a good opportunity for me to just hang out with Warlpiri people and just get to know their everyday life a bit better. And this is where I stayed. This is my room, so very simple.
Dhe këtu është vendi ku rrinte ky. Shumë modern sa shikoni.
Happy when you just get a place where you can just unfold your sleeping bag and just stay for a bit. And because I didn't have to work in the art center anymore, that really freed me up to sort of to start talking to people. Like here, for example, with some
Këtu është me sa njerëz që po bëjnë muhabet. And what do they talk about? Do they talk about football, for example? Do they talk about
lots? Yeah, football is a really big thing.
maybe recent movies or
Well, mostly I was approaching them to find out about stuff, you know, and there's quite a few things that are very, very peculiar from a European viewpoint. So the spiritual concepts of the Warlpiri people are very much different from what we have here in the West. To just try to understand how it works or get an explanation of what the concept of dreaming, as it's been translated, is really takes some time and really raises a few questions.
Pra është e çuditshme thotë se kur jeton atje.
I'm trying to squeeze out information about that.
Vajtit kërkonte pyetje dhe ata shikonin futboll.
Gain people's trust and to
Do të ca kohë që do marrësh atë
so that they get
të
the
besojnë.
idea that you actually sort of worthy
Dhe të flasin vërtet.
have shared with you.
Ti vetë atje për të mësuar për gjërat e vërteta të atyre, ata thonë që shikojnë futboll ditë për ditë.
But also a great way to know about like their lifestyle is to just go out what they call hunting. This is, for example, this is digging for honey ants. So they call that hunting too. This is a family sort of pastime activity. So they get these ants out of the soil.
Are these ants or honey?
They are really sweet. So honey ants are really delicious. So these
Që kanë
what you
milingona-
see there, these little roundish pebbles. These are actually ants, and their abdomens are so swollen and they're full of nectar. So you
Janë
just
milingona
eat them, just bite off their
që bëjnë
tail,
mjalt.
and they taste really delicious.
Edhe janë shumë të shijshme edhe këtë bëjnë gjithë ditën. Për shembull, dalin edhe kërkojnë ushqim.
Yeah, the traditional heritage of how to survive in the desert environment.
Si të mbjetosh atje, mund të hash milingona që
And also, like I said, I'm mentioned that I'm an artist, so I spent quite some time just painting out in the street and doing, trying to get a picture of the place and by really painting. So I did this stuff, for example. This is just an image of what you would call a camp, so a house and a yard. And this already gives you a little bit of information. There's people hardly in summer when it's
and the
warm,
bed
they just
outside,
sleep
from what I
outside
see.
because it almost never rains, and it just comes so handy. So and houses sometimes are a bit crowded and crammed.
Nganjëherë
And
zakonisht nuk bie shi atje, mlidhen gjithë bashk. Ky nga që është artist, edhe i vizatoi këto, ky është vizatimi i tij.
So the story behind that was that someone saw me doing this artwork, my own artwork, and then approached me to say like, "Oh, you are a great artist. You have to do a football team logo on my house wall." And so of course I did because I wanted to become friends, right?
So you did the tiger.
Yeah, this tiger football teams. So what happened was that I got asked by a lot of people. So I ended up painting a lot of these logos and
E pyetin i thanë a bëj një logo për atë të futbollit, i thanë vajti u bëri ky.
yeah, they're already fading, you know, the paint is peeling off, but the friendships are still strong, some of them. So that brought me, it was a really good way to bring me into contact with the community.
Boja mbas e ka rënë ndër këto vite thot, por shoqëritë akoma vazhdojnë.
Finally the school approached me, so the school asked me if I could do some paintings for them. So
Edhe shkolla e tha, a mund bëjmë ca piktura?
On a door that I did with one of the desert animals for the kids.
What type of animal is this? The previous one.
For each class has a different animal, and the kids really seem to like it.
Çdo klasë kishte një kafshë të ndryshme.
Because of it, I did these little sort of booklets for the school. So these are what you call Dreamtime stories. So traditional mythical stories about the creation of the places and also about certain rules in society, and they are being used to teach kids how to read and write.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was some of the things that I really had to understand and find out about, like how do these things work. So what is that spiritual concept behind the war priest worldview? So, and this, for example, this is the school class visiting one of the significant sites in the area. Because everything is connected. There's so many different places in the desert that actually have their own story. So you could almost say like every hill has its own story. And this is one of the places of the so-called Ngapa Jukopa, which means water dreaming. So the kids come here and then they sit down and get something to eat. And Yamuna, who's sitting in the chair, tells them the story of the place.
Ajo gruaja po thot historinë këtyre kalamajve të shkollës, edhe çdo kodër ka historinë e saj atje. Sepse vend në këmbë.
Very intriguing to just be part of that.
Kishin dalë për kështu të shkollës, edhe gati çdo gur, sepse mbase në këtë gurin kanë bërë një kalaman, në tjetrin është bërë një vrasje, në tretin është bërë një gjë e bukur.
The clouds have been thrown down and stuck in the earth, so people look at these stones as clouds being dropped from the sky, which is also, as you might guess, part of the water dreaming again. So it explains how the water spirit traveled across the country.
Pra është ai shpirti i ujit që mendojnë ata që kalojnë në gjithë shtetin, edhe mendojnë se ata gurët që pat atje çfarë qenë re.
Encountering the owl spirit.
Ky shpirti i ujit me shpirtin e bufit.
But this is like European illustration style. So
of an Aborigini dream.
The Aboriginal way of depicting stuff like this is more abstract. You see, they do this sort of dot painting style things.
Dhe këta pikturojnë, por me pika I bëjnë ndryshe nga europianët.
And that was of course impressive to see also, because there's so many different styles. So this old culture get transformed into something new, into an art movement, so to speak, which leads to artists being exhibited like all around the world. Yeah, I'll just stop sharing my screen at this point.
It looks amazing. I'm astonished at how different things that seem normal to us. You know, like for example the painting of a cloud. You know, like maybe it's because of school or because we all do it in these 5 similar ways, and they just found a 6th way, the dotted one, for example, and they do it in that way.
Yeah, exactly.
That's their influence.
So it sort of, for me, it reveals a lot about how I'm actually already affected by my own culture and how much it restricts me from opening up to other ways of view, or to just not even consider thinking in a different way about the world.
Did they have any abandonment, I would say, wishes to leave and to go to Melbourne or to go to probably Europe or the US?
No, because to Aboriginal people, country is the most important thing they have. Well, probably next to family, but both of it it's very much related. So as an Aboriginal person, you identify very much with your country, with your own home country. So this is where you belong, and this also is not just like, okay, well, I grew up here and I really like the trees and the mountains look great. It's also that there is a spiritual meaning embedded in the landscape as it is, and that particular story that the landscape tells also puts you into relation in the society, so you identify with it very much. So it's a rare thing for people from that area to leave and go to Melbourne or anywhere. Sometimes they do that just to visit boarding schools to get an education, for example, but they usually come back because for an Aboriginal person to be taken out of this community and be taken away from their home country means a lot of stress. You feel lonely, that's it, you know, and it's rare for people to leave.
E pyeta në qoftë se këta vendasit që janë atje aborigjinit që jetojnë atje duan të ikin në vend në Europë edhe këto.
Really has to put in a lot of money to keep this.
Edhe më tha që nuk duan të ikin. Ata që ikin për shkak duan vende për konvikte, të mësojnë disa gjëra dhe të kthehen sepse është një stres i madh.
They have a need to get people off their home country. And as you can imagine, there's not an awful lot of work opportunities in the desert. Because there's not a lot of businesses.
Edhe gati në asnjë nivel nuk funksionon kjo gjëja.
Yet it doesn't work that way. It's really just you can't just drive Aboriginal people off their home country.
Nuk i merr dot sepse toka është gjëja kryesore që kanë ai vendi atje. Nuk i merr dot edhe të çosh në Melbourne për shembull, edhe thua hajde se do.
If you look at the history of Australia, a colony, that's also part of the trouble because the Anglo-Saxon settler society, they wanted the country, you know, and they couldn't just push the Aboriginal people off because that was what they had, because they were bound so strongly to the country.
So it wasn't once a good idea to move them and
Aboriginal people to leave. It's really just such an important connection. Yeah.
How long did you stay there?
Well, I went back. I forgot, maybe 7 times, I think. So the entire duration I spent there was, I think, more than 1.5 years.
Mbase një vit e gjysmë në total kam ndonjë atje.
For me to gather all the information that I needed for my book. So there is I made this. I made a 240 pages graphic novel out of it. I can have you just so that you get a better.
Awesome. 240 pages. Ka bërë një libër me ato mësimet që bëri me 240 faqe, një novel grafike.
It tells you about the traditional stories a little bit, and then that's mostly me as a character walking into.
Karakteri është ky, që po ecën.
Walking into this a place and finding out about what was going on there and giving my own impression as a traveler really.
Edhe po tregonte se si është si udhëtar ky çfarë ka bërë. Të gjitha vendet me sa duket shikoj ka bërë një komik të vërtet.
And one of the things that happened to me while I was there was that a friend of mine, so I became friends with this one Aboriginal man. I call him Phil in the book. And when I went there the second time, I sadly had to find out that he passed away.
Herën e dytë që vajti kishte vdekur fatkeqësisht, Phili.
What happened was that he died in police custody. So he got arrested.
Arrestuan edhe vdiq atje brenda.
He got arrested in a park in Darwin and
në një park të qytetit Darwin.
He was drunk. And then when the police put him into custody, he just passed away there because of heart failure.
Po, nuk I punoi më zemra edhe vdiq kur mbajtën në burg.
Mean that the police did something entirely wrong, but the incarceration of Aboriginal people is really a problem, and a lot of Aboriginal people die in police custody because the incarceration rate is so high.
Burgosja atyre është shumë problematike sepse thjesht futen edhe vdesin.
For this being quite significant is because Phil's grandfather took part in one of the causes for a massacre that happened in wait a second, that happened in 1928. Just a sec. I'll just have to fix this display of double pages because
do të një masakër në 1988-ën.
There was this huge massacre where a posse of policemen just shot a lot of people. So it's unclear how many people died. The official number is 31.
Numri zyrtar është 31 veta që vranë, por nga këta
it's been estimated that it was rather 70 or something.
Mund të ishte diku rreth 70.
So Phil's grandfather played a role in the massacre because he was the one to kill a dingo trapper, a white person, and that led to this revenge posse. So his personal story is connected to the historical events, and it seems somehow very tragic that you have this background where police went around, shot people basically, and today it still causes trauma if someone dies in police custody, of course. And it was quite striking to me when I found out that Phil's granddad was actually involved in these things that happened 100 years back.
Interesante si janë të lidhura që para 100 vitesh gjyshi i tij vrau dikë dhe ata vranë 70 në këmbime dhe akoma vazhdojnë vriten nga policia këta vendasit. Will you go again?
Yes. Well, my book is finished now.
Libri ka mbaruar.
One excuse less to go there, but I found out I really want to.
Tani ç'të bëjmë apo duhet vetë për çef. Did you publish your book?
It's one of these places where the risky part is if you go there and you make friends and you get connected, and if you do that repeatedly over the years, it's really hard to not feel homesick when you in Hamburg.
Kam bërë miq thot atje, jam duket sikur jam shpik, kështu që
the last time I was there
është e vështirë të mos vete.
More than a year ago, and I already feel I need to go back, and that has to do with with my connection to the place, with my connection to the people, and you have to take into account that Aboriginal society is also different in the way people connect and interact. So I have a really really nice and humane, and it's hard to describe. I'm struggling to actually find the right words to tell you what it means to me or what the difference is. But if you are there, you really feel like there's a different sort of way of looking at each other. And in our German society, people are nice too, but they tend to always sort of be caught up in their own business, or they tend to sort of look at each other more like, informal interactions or something. Well, my Warpri friends, they are really sort of there, and they really sort of intuitively feel into whatever is going on. And I find that very rewarding, and it gives me a feeling of connection. And there's also a non-indigenous proportion of people that live in Yundamu, but they also get affected by this vibe. Okay. So Aboriginal communities really have this really special vibe because they haven't lost part of what makes us human and what we seem to be missing in the Western societies for a bit.
Awesome. Let me translate for a second, please. Pra thot që në ato kur vete atje para një viti e gjysmë është shumë interesante që e ka marrë malli akoma, thot, sepse atje funksionojnë ndryshe nga vende europiane si për shembull Gjermania, ku janë njerëz të mirë, po funksionojnë në një mënyrë tjetër, funksionojnë për veten më shumë. Domethënë, flasin për vete, i bëjnë gjërat për vete, kanë punët e tyre atje, të gjithë janë miksuar me njëri tjetrin dhe flasin me njëri tjetrin dhe e ndjejnë shumë herë njëri tjetrin më shumë se sa thjesht të jenë atje dhe të funksionojnë në një nivel që hajde se jemi të gjithë bashkë, po në të vërtet jetojmë në një pallat, po nuk njihemi siç ndodh dhe në shoqëritë moderne, si për shembull në atë pjesën lindore të Australisë janë qytetet, apo në Europë apo në vendet e tjera. Now you finished your book. Did you publish it?
Yes, it's published in German. and I'm looking into publishing this in Australia as well. So my first graphic novel has been published in Germany, in Australia, in Portugal, in France. But my new book, it's been out for just like half a year, and it's only been published in Germany so far, sadly. Otherwise, I would of course recommend it to read.
Will we get it at some point translated into English?
Yeah, well, that's the plan, and I'm already talking about my Australian publishers about it.
Can you tell me again the title, please, for the people that speak German?
Yeah, and I can also send you a link to the website of the publishers. Yes. It's called Unter rotem Staub. And it's published by Avant Verlag in Germany.
Unter rotem Staub, yeah?
Yeah.
Which means...
Under red dust.
Under dust. Domethënë ky ka bërë këtë librin dhe ka botuar pas 240 ditësh, dhe nëse doni ta shikoni, ta lexoni, se është novel grafike, si punë comics, po është histori, edhe të cilën quhet nën poshtë baltës, poshtë si thon, poshtë under the dust. Unter rotem Staub. Nëse dini gjermanisht,
right,
mund ta lexoni, and they can find it, I guess, online also, right?
Yes,
they can find it online. Okay, let's jump a little bit to your other trips, because I guess you have traveled a lot to go to the idea that you must stay in the Aborigini place, but probably you have been to other places too.
Yeah, well, that basically it soaked up a lot of my traveling capacity, really. And but of course, yeah, I did stuff in Europe as well. Well, recently, actually, I really got into kayaking in Germany. So over the past 3 years, I've been really just spending my summer kayaking in Germany. Not quite. This year, I also went to Greenland, which was very extreme, I think, a harsh country. And something that I found most exciting maybe was also trying to travel without money, which is quite an endeavor to do.
Without money at all?
And, yeah, no money at all. So
where?
One day I wanted to, I had a girlfriend in Iran, and I wanted to get there, and then found out that my visa was cancelled. So I just couldn't get in. And so I decided to at least take the flight to Istanbul and then find my way back to Hamburg without any money. So that was sort of like a challenge I did. But then there was an occasion where I was hitchhiking, of course, and I lost my passport, or forgot my passport in one of the cars that took me across the Turkish-Bulgarian border. And I just realized that when I tried to cross the Bulgarian-Serbian border, so I had to go all back and track down the guy. Luckily, I had his number, so wow. I needed to retrieve my passport again, and then I already ran out of time, so that was a bit. So I had to basically go back to Istanbul and catch a flight back because I had obligations here in Hamburg. So, but that was kind of exciting. The only thing I don't like about it is you really, as someone like me from a privileged country, you really put yourself in a position where you depend on people's sort of like on people helping you out. So you have people buying you food or providing spaces for you to sleep, giving you rights and everything. And I noticed that I did not quite feel absolutely comfortable with it. Not so much that I mind being in the position to ask, but more to sort of, because it's an artificial situation. And one of the things that really put me into an uneasy mindset was when I traveled to France without money. I got this really long lift with a truck driver from Russia he was. I'm not entirely sure. So we couldn't really actually understand each other. And I went with him the entire day, so hundreds of kilometers he took me. And in the end of the trip, he signaled to me with like hands and feet that he asked me to invite him for a drink, which was, of course, would have been like absolutely reasonable, and I would have gladly done so, but I couldn't because I didn't have any money. I didn't even have any card or anything. I just was entirely without anything, and I couldn't comply to his to him asking. So and I also couldn't explain to him why I couldn't. was really hard because because we didn't share the same language. It was really hard for me to explain to him, look, I'm traveling without money because I think it's a fun thing, more interesting thing, so I can't just, give anything back. And that was really not a situation that I wanted to be in, to disappoint this guy who had been so generous to me and so friendly.
It's amazing how after we finish the traveling pack 10 out of 10, then we put ourselves in these artificial ways of traveling, like we want to travel without money. Let me translate for a second and I come back. E pyet nëse udhton vetë se këtyre të Aborigini dhe më tha që ka udhtuar shumë nëpër Europë dhe nëpër vende të tjera. Për shembull, 3 vitet e fundit është futur edhe bën shumë kanoe kajak, pra niset nëpër udhtimet e ndryshme me kajak, lëviz nëpër verë nëpër Gjermani, po ka vajte në Greenland gjithashtu. Ka patur një shoqe nga Irani, të cilën mori vizën për të vajtur për të atakuar në Iran, pastaj gjeti që nuk e pranuan në Iran, kështu që u kthye në Stamboll dhe nga Stambolli me aeroplan dhe nga Stambolli tha që do i bie me autostop me gjëra të ndryshme nëpër Europë sa të vetë në Gjermani. U fut në kufirin e Bullgarisë, harroi pasaportën atje tek një tip në makinë, kishte marrë numrin e telefonit, kur doli në Bullgari në kufirin me Serbin nga ana tjetër, çu bë pasaporta, hajde të kthehemi edhe një herë në fillim, pastaj u kthye mbrapsht atje, edhe pastaj doli përfundimisht me sa duket në Gjermani. Një gjë të çuditshme që kanë bërë, tha, nga udhëtimet që ka bërë është që ka udhëtuar pa lek, është përpjekur të udhtoj pa lek për qefin e tij. Edhe në udhëtimet pa lek kjo gjëja që është e mirë është sepse udhton në mënyrën totalisht zero, por mënyra e keqe që në të cilën ti udhton është sepse ndonjëherë mund të duhen pak lek ose u kërkon mbase ushqim ose të japin njerëz që nuk kanë lek. Për shembull, një tip që e mori me kamion nga mund të ketë qenë nga Rusia, nuk jemi të sigurt, mund mos ketë qenë, sepse nuk fliste gjuhën, e mori një ditë të tërë me qindra kilometra në Francë me kështu me autostop, edhe pastaj në fund i tha do më qiras në një kafe në një gjë kot për një kafe. Dhe ky s'kishte asnjë lek për ta qirasur me kafe, dhe ky që ai momenti i vështirë për këtë i keq që tha, të kisha tani lekët ose një kartë bankare ose një diçka, do e qirasja për një kafe. I know it's a strange language, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah, I just caught some words of you translating. Yeah. I thought like, oh, he's telling them everything. That's nice.
You're like, oh, kayak. Okay, then it's Bulgaria.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. Did I say all this? It's amazing. Have you ever been to Albania?
No, I should maybe.
Maybe.
So what would you? Yeah. Is there good hiking opportunities in Albania, like nature?
Well, I've walked Albania from the southernmost point to somewhere in the north. Okay, I stopped at some point because I got tired, but I did walk. And I would say if you want to learn the real culture, just walk without a map or something, just follow the sun or whatever. Because if you go to touristic places, you will expect touristic service. Which means if you hire a guide, of course, he will be smiling to you all day and stuff, and you say, well, Albanians are really friendly, when in reality, your guide is really friendly, right? If you say this is the traditional dress, but we never dress this, only, I don't know, in Oktoberfest, for example. And is this really the traditional dress if they only did it from the 80s and after, I don't know, Or, it's traditional to watch football on Sundays. Football is like 100 years old. How much of tradition can we speak about tradition, But I would recommend, if you come, I would say hiking in the north. We have Alps, we have big mountains, and big mountains are called Alps. And we have awesome beaches, like the Ionian Sea and all this. So if you come...
Well, if I would come, I would probably feel tempted to come as a hitchhiker.
Also, as a hitchhiker, I mean, the entire Balkans, except of the Dalmatian part of Croatia, would be amazing for hitchhiking. You've been to Bulgaria, so yeah, I guess.
Because that's when you get to run into random people, and you get their stories, and you learn about the places as well. And
you are forced to talk, because by hiking, you can just pass them by, but by hitchhiking, you have to talk, at some point. Yeah. It's amazing. Okay, Jan, then thank you very much for...
Thank you
for being with us and for sharing with us amazing stories. I hope you do well, and once you publish it in English, please let me know, because I would like to have the book. Okay? Thank you very much.
All right, Julian.
Enjoy.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Zonja dhe zotrin, ky ishte Jan nga Gjermania, i cili ka bërë udhëtimet e tij, na foli për Aboriginit, na foli për udhëtimet në Europë. Faleminderit që na ndoqët. Kjo ishte gjithçka që kishim përgatitur për sot. Ne do shihemi përsëri nesër nga ora 8 deri në 10 tek emisioni pozitiv tek stacioni Aventurat TV. Faleminderit që na ndoqët dhe kalofshi sa më bukur.